Today is June 6th, 2019. My name is Joe Todd. This is an interview of Shawn McFarlin in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. Sir, where were you born?
Monmouth, Illinois.
Monmouth, Illinois. And when's your birthday?
April 7th, 1972 was birth year.
1972. Who is your father?
Brett McFarlin.
Brett?
Yeah.
Okay. And your mother?
Kathleen, maiden name was Knox.
Okay. Did you go through school in Monmouth?
Elementary.
Elementary. Where'd you graduate high school?
Des Moines, Iowa.
Des Moines, Iowa. Why did the family move to Des Moines?
My dad went to medical school.
Okay. And you graduated what year?
1990.
1990?
Yep.
You played sports in high school?
Ran track.
Ran track. Have a good team?
Yeah, parts of it were good. We actually sent two girls to the Olympics for hurdles.
Yeah.
So yeah, parts of our team were really good. Parts of it were okay. We had fun.
Yes. What did you do for recreation in high school?
In high school, I ran track. Most of it was around school. I ran track. I was on the debate team, which we were very good, and then I also helped with building the sets and things for the plays and musicals. That was a lot of what I did for fun.
Yes. Who was your favorite teacher?
Would have been Mr. Schaefer.
Mr. Schaefer.
Yeah.
Why was he your favorite?
He wasn't the easiest teacher that we had, but he taught a lot. He was a social science teacher, and I had him for sociology and a couple of other classes. He was one that was willing to have open discussions. He liked it if you had an actual real question about the subject. He was willing to go off topic and have a real discussion about a subject. And I remember a couple times he would sit there and, like, after class, like for sociology, I'd ask stuff. He's like, the kids in this class are probably getting more out of the class than most classes because we're actually talking about the subject, not the textbook, but really about the subject. And he was like, if we don't ever touch the textbook except for major topics, I'm fine with it. So he would go, and it's like, we can go off on whatever as long, and he goes, it's real conversation.
Yes.
So as long as he'd let us go wherever we wanted to go, as long as it was on the area.
Yep. When you were living at home as a boy in school, what chores you do around the house?
I did the basics, I'd help mow the yard and take care of things like that, but I like doing a lot of the hands-on stuff, so there was a lot of, if there was maintenance on the house, I did a lot of the small, like, fix-it type stuff, like, if there was something mechanical, or I'd fix doors, windows, things like that around the house. My brothers didn't like doing that stuff so much. I did. My parents seemed like they were either always working or in school, so if it got broke, or if they were gone and it got broken, they didn't need to know about it, a lot of times I'd fix it before they got home. So it wasn't really a chore, it was more of a cover ourselves.
Okay.
So my brothers were always more than happy to cover other chores for me to fix it.
What did you do after high school?
I went to school a little bit, didn't really fit in with that. Worked a couple jobs, and then joined the military.
What jobs?
I worked for Um, uh, it was coastal at the time, but it was a oil company.
Okay. In the Des Moines area?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It had started then. It started out as Peaster Gas and
Okay.
that. And it wasn't a bad job, but it wasn't going anywhere. And
Okay, why'd you join the military?
it kind of was something that I had always in the back of my head I wanted to do. I'd had relatives that had done it back to the Civil War, and kind of not every generation, but we had relatives. It was kind of against my parents' wishes, but but I did it. It was what I was going to do. My mom was like, well, you're going to do what you're going to do. It's like, if this is what you're going to do, you're
What branch did you join?
Air Force.
Air Force. When did you join the Air Force?
92.
What month and day?
September 11th. No. September 10th.
September 10th,
Yeah.
1992.
Yep.
Where'd you go for your basic training?
Lackland,
Lackland.
San Antonio.
Tell me about basic.
Our basic sounds weird. I had fun. The group I was with was we had one group kind of in. We had a group that came in all together. They were National Guard. They were from the Boston area. They kind of all hung together. We didn't really have much to do with them. They were okay, but we didn't really have much to do with them. But the rest of us kind of worked together. There was the usual butting heads. I hurt my knee probably about a week into the basic, so I volunteered to do fire guard for the younger groups about 3 or 4 days a week, so that I could do during the PT time, so that I didn't have to run every day. Because I could do the running from doing track, I could do it. I just didn't want to do it every day, so I didn't get recycled. I wanted to just do basic, get done with it, move on.
Yes.
And then for our additional duty, I volunteered with 2 people I kind of met the first day that I got along with, and we cleaned the brass on the stairs because it got us out of the barrack area.
Yes.
And you got a little quiet for a little while. It's like sanity. And the other flight we went through with was actually really girls.
Mm-hmm.
It was, our sister flight was actually female. And I remember when we got our hair cut on the when they were going up the stairs, they were always asking if they could touch our heads. And we're like, is this sexual harassment? But it was funny. We only lost one person out of our flight during basic, and he got, and I think it was just psychological, but he would start hyperventilating every time he saw a drill instructor with their hat on. He could talk to the drill instructors if they didn't, but when he saw their hat, he would just start hyperventilating. He was a good kid, everything else, but that was his thing, so our drill instructors were really good with him.
Yeah.
Because it was one of those things, and he just wasn't going to be able to do it. It was kind of a funny story. Our sister flight's drill instructor took us all over to the chapel to meet the chaplain and that, and he kind of explained how the chapel was a safe area. They couldn't do anything. The sister flight's drill instructor showed up late to get us, so after he went past his normal time, the chaplain was telling us, kind of what was going on in the news, catching us up on TV shows and all that, and the drill instructor showed up, and the chaplain, who I think was a lieutenant colonel, told him, oh, no, you're on my time now, you can go outside and wait for him. Which, we're probably in our second week, and we're like, okay. And he told us, if he takes anything out on you about that, let me know. because he can't. So that was kind of funny because we're all, we're scared to death of him for the most part. And this lieutenant colonel's like, if he says anything, I'll take care of it.
Tell me about your drill instructor.
My drill instructor was actually not a bad guy, Sergeant Astudillo. He was on his second tour as a drill instructor. He had done one tour, then went back to his career field, and then came back as a drill instructor. And civil engineering, heating and air conditioning was his job. I say little, he was shorter than I was. He was from Puerto Rico, and his thing from the first day was, if you're gonna mess up in here where I can correct you. I have to yell at you if we're outside. If you mess up in here, we can fix it. And if we were inside, he would correct it. He'd be, he'd make us follow the rules and everything, but inside he could correct you. If we made the mistakes outside, he had to be the drill sergeant and yell. And, but he wasn't, we made mistakes and everything else. We were never in the running for the honor flight. We didn't care. He didn't care. He said, it means nothing. He goes, if you guys get through, that's all that matters. He goes, I'm gonna get you through. He goes, you follow, you guys help each other, you do it, you get through, you don't mess up too much out in public. I mean, we couldn't march to save our lives, so they gave us the flags for the parade. and we were fine with that. But he would stand back, and he never laughed when we were in public, but if we were doing kind of that borderline of they're doing it, but not, they're doing it just good enough that they're not failing, he would stand back and you'd see him over there smiling like, they're doing it, but they're not perfect. They're not. And he would just stand back there and smile like, there's nothing I can yell about. They're gonna pass. But at our final PT test, we had one kid and he couldn't run. He could not run for anything, and we were bound and determined that everybody was going to pass. And myself and one other person fell back behind, and we each took one of his arms, and we were dragging him. And all the other drill instructors were yelling to drop him back, and we carried him through and everything. And you could just see Sergeant Astudillo standing over there. He had the biggest grin on his face because he was like, his biggest thing was we needed to work as a team.
Yes.
And we got him through. So the whole, both us and our sister flight, everybody made it through.
Okay.
As a team. Nobody failed the PT test. And he saw when we dropped back, he just got the biggest grin on his face, like that's what they're supposed to do.
What was his name, the drill instructor?
Astudillo, like it was Astdillo.
Okay.
And 20 whatever years, well, almost 30 years later, I still remember that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't out of fear or anything. He was just there. He was, a lot of people were scared of the drill instructors, and we were scared of him at first. But after we got to talk to him for a few days and everything, he was just inside. We respected him. We really did. We were like, he's here to actually make us a team, not a competition between everybody.
What type of training did you have in basic?
A lot of it was academic. I mean, I remember, besides the physical training, a lot of ours, we had a lot of academic and whether it was classwork, like for history. I remember doing a lot of history, like Air Force history, U.S. history, things about the UCMJ. Mm-hmm. I also remember then having to do the confidence course, the obstacle course, and of course the riflery course, which was kind of a joke, but yeah. It's like, okay, yeah, you hit paper, you're good.
Now, why'd you join the Air Force over the Army, Navy, or the Marines?
I actually had originally when I took the ASVAB, I got a 98 or 99. I got a really high score. The Marines came and wanted me to be an interrogator. I went, no, I don't think so. The Navy, I talked to them and I told them I'd join them if they could guarantee me I didn't have to be out in the middle of the water. Just messing with them. I didn't want to be out on a ship. The Army was actually my first one that I was going to talk to because I wanted to be a scout. I thought that was what I wanted to do. They couldn't guarantee it to me. I wanted to be an Air Scout, but because I wore glasses, they wouldn't waive it. So I went, and I actually went into the Air Force with no guaranteed job.
Okay. Did you discuss Desert Storm in basic?
A little. It was still kind of winding down at that point. We did. Some of the people at Lackland, especially some of the security police and stuff, had been over there at certain times. We did talk about it some. It wasn't a huge topic, but we did talk about it some.
Okay. Basic lasted how long?
6 weeks.
6 weeks. So from Lackland, where'd you go?
Chanute Air Force Base in Rantoul, Illinois. Got there at the middle of October, and left the end of January. So middle of Illinois, Champaign-Urbana area in the winter.
What'd you do there?
My initial course was weather technician, weather observer.
Weather technician.
Never heard of the job. Never even thought about going into meteorology. But it was one of the harder jobs. It ranked up there with air traffic control, and we had an 80% washback rate. And out of the 80% that washback at that point, we had 80% washout. So, yeah, we had a pretty high turnover rate. Mm-hmm. So graduating on time were a pretty big feather in your cap.
What's your most vivid memory of your weather school?
The school itself, during the first block of school, we actually had Navy and Marine personnel in our class, and we had a Marine instructor he was brand new, and he didn't quite understand that we were in the Air Force, not the Marines. And he tried to get us to do push-ups. And the senior instructor for the school was an Air Force chief. And he came down, and they had a discussion in the hall that we could all hear with the door shut about how or what the differences between a Marine and an airman were, and what the differences between what you could make them do and what you couldn't make them do, and that there was not going to be any push-ups being done by the airmen. And that was probably we were probably in about 3 or 4 weeks at that point. But yeah, that was a pretty big memory at that point, because he was a big, brand new Marine instructor, and yeah, because we all looked at him when he said do push-ups. We're like, huh? You want me to do what? It wasn't going to happen.
Now, what were you trained to do in the school?
We were trained to do. it sounds kind of goofy. People don't, but we were trained to do airfield real-time observations for aircraft safety and to help with like for what the weather is right now, to work with the forecasters to help them do their forecasting, and also severe weather and using the weather radars and all the equipment. And that was always, learning the high-tech stuff was always interesting. But you learned all the low-tech way to do everything also, which was, we all thought at the time was, why do we have all the high-tech stuff if we have all the high-tech stuff, why do we learn the low-tech way to do it?
It's low-tech.
Writing everything out by hand and plotting things by hand and all that stuff. And until you have to do it, you don't think it's worth anything. And then when you have to do it, you're like, oh, thankfully I know how to do it. And well, back to memorable things, one of the most memorable things at the base, because it was winter in Illinois, we went to school in the evening towards the end of our school, so there weren't enough of us to have to march in formation, so we kind of straggled along and just in small groups, and a car came around the corner and sprayed us all down with slush. Car stopped immediately. It was the base commander. He had sprayed us with slush. He was so apologetic and everything. He asked what school we were going to and everything. Before we could get to the school, his car was there, and he was in telling the senior instructors what had happened and what he had done and everything, so we didn't get in trouble. And he sent a bus over to take us back to our dorms so we could change into dry uniforms, and brought us back. And we thought general officers at that point gained a whole new level of respect with us. But that was like the most memorable at the base was that.
Remember his name?
I don't. That was the only time I had any interaction with him. But that was, to see he was a 1-star general, but to see him jump out of his car, which was, we all were like, whoa. But to see him jump out, first thing he says, "I am so sorry." And we're all trying to sit there and we're all trying to salute. And he's like, "Stop." It's like, I messed up. But yeah, he went to school, sent us a bus. It's like, we're all like, okay, this is a decent.
Yes. You were at Chanute how long?
About 4 months.
Okay. And from Chanute, where'd you go?
I was supposed to go to Ellsworth in South Dakota. I had orders to go there. I was out processing to go there, and they came in and said, "Didn't you get your change of orders?" I'm like, "What change of orders?" They changed my orders to go to Hurlburt Field, Florida. They didn't know where it was. The base personnel office didn't know where it was. The family whatever office didn't know where it was. So we had to look it up, and they had it listed as Auxiliary Field 3, I think it was, for Eglin. Well, they knew where Eglin was. I had to call the base to find out where it was. It was the headquarters for Air Force Special Operations, which was fairly new at that time. I think it was started in '89 as its own command. But I had actually called the office that I was assigned to find out driving directions to get to the gate. I had no idea. But yeah, so I ended up going to the Panhandle of Florida instead of South Dakota.
That was Herbert Field?
Yeah.
Okay. What'd you do there?
I went to the, I was assigned to the weather office, but the first day I got there, one of the captains pulled me to the side, and we went into the secure area. He had me sign a pile of non-disclosure agreements, then briefed me on everything that, all the classified stuff that AFSOC did. And he asked me, he's like, "Do you want to stay here or do you want to go?" He goes, "If you want to go, no hard feelings. I'll get you an assignment anywhere in the States today. He goes, I'll call assignments. You can go wherever you want. If you want to stay, we've got a project. He goes, if you want to go, that it doesn't look bad on your record. So being, 20 at the time, I'm like, sure, I'll stay. Well, what I didn't know was the project I was getting into was they'd had special operations weather teams in Vietnam that the person who had founded them essentially was Lieutenant Colonel Grimes, was his name. After Vietnam, they said, oh, we've got all these satellites, we don't need them anymore. So they pretty much wound them down to nothingness. Then Desert Storm came along and they said, satellites can't tell us what's going on the ground. They had ran into the desert and ran into the fact that there's fog on the ground in the desert and things like that. And they said, we need people that can do this again. But wait, we don't have anybody trained, and we don't even have a book anymore that's less than 30 years old on how to do this. So they had pulled 12 of us. There was 4 that they'd pulled from Fort Bragg that were there as part of the actual weather office. Then there was 8 of us that were new to start the career field over again. So that was what that was my first assignment was, here, we don't know what this is. We don't know what it's going to turn into, but here's what they did in the late 60s, early 70s in Southeast Asia. So you guys redo it. And I'm looking and going, okay.
How'd you redo it?
We all went back and studied what Colonel Grimes and they had done. They worked Cambodia and Thailand and all those places that we weren't at, in the mountains with the Montagnards and all that. And we started going through what training they had and what we had, and worked with the intel guys to see what the world was like now, and we got some priority and started lining up the training that we thought we needed, and started signing up to travel around. And we met up with some of the special forces groups, went up to Fort Drum, met up with 10 Special Forces group to see what they did, and sat down and talked to them to see what skills we had to get to hang out with them. Met people at Camp Rudder, which is on Eglin, which is the training base for the Rangers, to see what they did, what they needed. Met up with SEAL Team 2 to see what they needed, just to see what we had to be able to do to keep up with them. Met up with the Air Force Special Operation, like the combat controllers, pararescue guys, to see what we had to be able to do to keep up with them. Met with some of the Tier 1 guys like SEAL Team 6 and those to see what we were going to have to be able to keep up with them. And then we kind of started writing out, okay, we're going to have jump qualifications. We're going to have free fall qualifications. We're going to have air assault. We're going to have survival school. We're going to have SEER training. And then started training, setting up all that. And luckily we got priority training on all that, so we could start. And since there were only the 12 of us to start, we just went on the road. I mean, we had rooms in Florida, but we went on the road to Fort Benning, Fort Bragg, Fairchild out in Washington. Went down to Cannon Air Force Base to do training, all those fun and exciting places. And then we had to go back, and once we kind of got up to speed on stuff, we had to go do the Special Forces qualification course. Met with I can't remember his name. Is captain with the 10th group. I don't remember a couple of those guys' names, but we did some training with one of their A teams, and the captain gave us the biggest compliment because he said we could climb like Spider-Man, fly like Superman, and think like Einstein. And we said, okay, that's pretty good on a certification letter. Because we figured out to get their certification, we had to do everything they did 10% better.
Yes. Now, let me ask, you were redoing the weather process, or what were you?
We were doing, and then that's on top of it, we were redoing, that was the physical part that we had to do. Then we had to go back and figure out what equipment we needed and everything to be able to do the weather observation that we could take that was small enough and rugged enough with us into the field to be able to do wind, pressures, all that stuff that the forecasters back wherever could give air crews for either low-level flights or the gunships, the helicopters, any of the airdrops, like the 82nd Airborne, any of those guys that were going to be doing, or the air assault, any of those, so that they could be on time or hit their targets. I mean, people don't realize things like, because today's D-Day, that they moved up D-Day because of a weather forecast.
Yes.
And there was a lot of those big things people don't realize that are affected by
Yes.
a weather window. And that was our big thing was, you have somebody on the ground and they're like, this is the way it is now. Then you got a forecaster going, this is how it's been, this is what's going to happen in 12 hours. You got to beat it, or you're going to have 36 hours till you can do it again. And that's what a lot of people never realized, and they were like, oh, that's why we need you.
What unit were you assigned to?
I was assigned to the 16th Special Operations Wing.
16th Special Operations Wing. And you were based at?
I was based out of Herbert Field.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how long were you at Herbert Field?
I was there for 4 years, so 92 to 96. I went to Korea for a year, assigned to the 607th Weather Squadron. Then I came back and was assigned to the 1st Special Operations Wing, which is what the 16th Special Operations Wing became, for 6 more years.
And what'd you do in Korea?
We were testing to see what we could deploy. Instead of having people in Florida and just deploying out there, if we could have people that were pre-stationed in places. So myself and one other person went to Korea to see how it would work.
Where were you based in Korea?
Out of Seoul, out of Youngsan.
Okay.
And got to travel all over the place.
Have any contact with the local people in Korea?
Yeah, I did.
What was their attitude towards you, the local people?
The older people were great. We actually worked with a gentleman, Mr. Coe. He worked he was a weather forecaster. His village had actually been, where he was born, was inside the DMZ now. He was great. He would take us downtown, take us to restaurants, show us the parts of Seoul that Americans didn't see, and show us what real Korea was. The college kids, they went up and down. I mean, sometimes it was, you were the evil Americans, get out. Okay, yeah. We had riots. We had people tossing Molotov cocktails over the fences. You couldn't take it too serious. I mean, yeah, it was serious, but you just had to stay away from the fences and stuff like that. On the trains, we didn't travel in big groups just because we never traveled alone in Seoul, but you never went in groups of more than 5 or 6 because then you were asking for trouble because big groups. But like on the trains and stuff, the little kids and the families were always really nice. The kids would want to come up and talk to you to practice their English, but they also thought it was funny because Koreans don't have body hair. So they'd come up and they'd like play with your arm hair and talk to you. When we went out into the country and talked to the villagers and stuff when we were working out there, they were always super nice. A lot of times, if we were out in the field and we were near a village, they'd invite us in to have food or showers or, you know, make us tea or whatever, which, I mean, they were always, and a lot of, especially the older people, or that they either were around during the war or else they were like first generation removed, so they remembered the stories of it. So they were always more than happy to, and I never personally had any problems with personal run-ins with any of the students or anything that, you know, they just would protest.
Okay. So what did you do when you came back to Hubbard Field?
We did a lot of training then, because at that point we had picked out, we screened other people to kind of bring the teams up to get other people in the field. So at that point then we were doing a lot more training. And we had it where all of the people that went through the weather school at that point had to come and spend 2 weeks with us to get basic battlefield training, because they could be at some point deployed, because we supported all the Army units because the Army didn't have their own people. So they could technically get deployed somewhere, and they had to have basic knowledge beyond Air Force basic training, rifle shooting. So we would send them out, so we would take them out on the field and teach them how to set up tents and how to dig a foxhole, things like that. But then we had also, the teams that we were building, we'd get them integrated and then get them to their trainings and then teach them how to work as a team and how to do what we had designed.
Okay. So from Hubbard Field, where'd you go?
I got hurt.
You got hurt?
I got hurt.
What happened?
I got shot in the chest. I was wearing a bulletproof vest, and I got shot in the chest and broke 3 ribs.
How'd you get shot in the chest?
Deployed.
Deployed. Where? Or can you tell me?
No.
Okay.
And so I broke 3 ribs, and after that, with that, when I got knocked backwards, I stumbled and broke my ankle and dislocated my knee. So I couldn't jump anymore, and air assault was out of the question, so they gave me a medical retirement.
Were you in the Middle East? Or can't you say?
I've been to the Middle East.
You've been to the Middle East, okay.
Yeah, I've gotten to visit and do some training over in places like Egypt, Israel. Those are a couple ones that aren't classified.
Mm-hmm.
I loved Egypt. We got to do a low-level flyby of the pyramids.
Yes.
That was really cool.
I've been in the pyramids.
I've never been in them. Well, yeah, but to do a low-level flyby from a C-130 was really pretty neat.
You go to Bosnia.
Yeah, we did search and rescue in Bosnia.
Can I ask what happened?
We did a couple of different things over there. We had we've actually flew out of southern Italy.
Okay. Foggia?
San Vito.
Okay.
Air station. And we never had a plane shot down while I was there that we didn't get the pilot back. So we were pretty proud of that one.
Okay. So what do you do in air rescue?
Our primary objective is to get off the ground as quick as possible, and we had to fly across the Adriatic. Hopefully either their rescue beacon goes off or we make contact with the pilot so we can get them to a location that we can get on the ground and pick them up.
What aircraft are you in?
When we're doing that, primarily we were flying in Pavlo helicopters. They were MH-53s.
Is that like a Black Hawk or
It's bigger than a Black Hawk.
bigger than a Black Hawk?
Yeah, it's like the Jolly Green Giants from Vietnam.
Okay.
It's the big brother of those.
Yes.
They retired them now, but they were pretty.
Is that a Boeing or a Sikorsky?
Sikorsky.
Sikorsky, okay.
Yeah. But when we would take off out of Italy, we would fly. We would take off. We would have 2 AC-130 gunships. We would have 4 C-130s that had different missions, but 2 of one type of MC-130 and 2 of another, and then we would have 2 completely loaded of the MH-53s in case one got shot down or had mechanical trouble. They were just duplicates of each other. And we'd fly in, and usually one set, we'd split in 2. One set would stay off just in case they needed, or they could split off if there was another rescue. And we would attempt to make contact. If we made contact or whatever, we would try to get them to a place, because the object was to get in, spend as little time touching the ground, get them out, and get them to either a naval ship if they were closer, or back to one of the air bases or something that had a hospital, just because they needed to be checked out at that point.
Great.
We had medics and stuff to do the primary with us, the combat controllers role, trained medics. We had one that it was hot, but on it, because they got shot down right outside of a Serbian-held village, and we knew it was going to get ugly. And when we got there, there was a group of about 125 Serbian soldiers that were out there because they saw the plane go down in the parachute, and they were out there looking for them. And we had 18 in each helicopter. So that was one time that we actually used both helicopters, and we had both gunships in the air to cover us. So we, that was a fun time. We ended up getting the pilot. That was a good thing. He was a Harrier pilot. He was British. He was more than happy to see us because he knew where he was at. We got him. He was banged up, but not too bad. But yeah, he was more than happy to see us, and we didn't get anybody. So, I mean, had people that made contact, but we didn't have anybody injured, so that was a good thing. The gunships overhead always were. We could usually let people that were chasing our guys know that they should back off. They drop a couple of 105 millimeter shells on them.
How many rescue missions were you on?
In Bosnia, we did 6.
6. Were you on the ground in Bosnia besides the rescue missions?
We did go on the ground twice. Once was we were available. Should be this way to put it. The Serbians weren't very nice people, and Milosevic and some of those guys were outright evil. To investigate something, and it ended up being a mass grave. And we knew what it was as soon as the helicopters cleared, because it stunk. They didn't put enough dirt to cover the stink. And another one was we were clearing out an area that was supposed to be safe, and it mostly was. We had a couple people that took rounds that got shot, but they survived. We got them out of there, but it had been an old a prison camp that they had abandoned. And Intel didn't think there was anybody there, but they wanted to make sure. So, and we were the fastest moving units around that they could use, so they called and asked if we could do it, and the powers that be said, sure, they can do it. And it fell into our area, so we're like, yeah, we can do that. And those are the kind of things that, you kind of like doing those things, because if it would have been occupied, we could have opened it up.
What's your most vivid memory of Bosnia?
The mass grave. The smell. And the village that was near there that had been burned to the ground, because you knew probably every male between probably the age of 10 and 50 or 60 was probably in that hole. But yeah, that smell was.
Now, who did this?
It was a as far as we could figure, because it was as far as we could figure, it was the Serbians that had done it. And that all we could do was take pictures and stuff and send it, and they sent it up to The Hague, to the War Crimes Tribunal.
Can I ask if you were in Iraq or Afghanistan?
I've never been in either.
You've never been either. Okay. Okay. So when were you retired medically?
2003.
2003. You recall the date?
My actual discharge date is February 10th.
10th, 2003. So you had about 11 years in?
Yeah.
Okay. What did you do after you were discharged?
I kind of bounced on jobs. I worked IT work, computer work, telecommunications work, which was all kind of left over from, because with the military, if we had something that broke, our job was either we had to fix it out in the field or blow it up, didn't want to, and so I had a lot of experience.
Yeah.
So I did that kind of work. I did electrical work. Most jobs didn't last very long. Took a while, figured out that it wasn't necessarily just the fact that I had a short fuse, got diagnosed with PTSD. It explained a lot that I was kicking myself for, thinking that I was just a pain. After going to talk to the doctors and everything and figuring out the PTSD part, and the diagnosed with minor traumatic brain injuries, figured out that that explained part of why I was having trouble with people. And the doctor said, you probably really shouldn't work with people. He said, it explains a lot of why you're having problems with bosses. He said, plus the fact that you are used to not having to work really with, that whole time, not working with authorities.
And was this through the VA?
That was actually a civilian doctor.
Okay.
And that the VA referred me to her.
Okay.
Yeah, she was a specialist that dealt a lot with,
Yeah.
that they sent me to her to get a expert opinion outside of the VA.
And when did you come to Bartlesville?
I actually moved here in the beginning of August last year, so 2018.
Why'd you come here?
I was going through a nasty divorce in Des Moines, and so I wanted to get out of there. And I got remarried now, but my current wife, her and I had known each other since I was about 12, and we had reconnected a while ago, and we've been good friends forever. And I knew she was down here and everything, so it was kind of a safe place and good for all my mental stuff. I wasn't so stressed and everything. I just needed a place a little bit further away. So.
What's your wife's name?
Jennifer.
Jennifer.
Yep. And yeah, it just kind of evolved, and it was good. But but mentally, with the PTSD and stuff, doing the ugly divorce it was not a healthy thing. I couldn't, and I could do it from further away a lot better.
So what are you doing now?
When physically, because I've got some physical issues, but I work on the house. I do woodworking. I'm enjoying my early retirement. I don't do anything too stressful. I got 4 stepkids. I take care of their school stuff. I enjoy life. And we've got a great view off our backyard, so if I don't feel like doing anything, I go sit on the deck and look off the side of the mountain and just relax.
Yep.
It's like, why not?
Would you join the Air Force again?
Yeah, in a heartbeat. At that point again, yeah, I would have done the same thing.
What's your most vivid memory of your Air Force career?
Oh, I've got a lot of memories. I had a friend, still are friends actually, but when we were in Korea, he was the other person that went to Korea with me. Dusty was his name. We went out with, tagged along with Aviation Brigade when they deployed, and it was during the monsoon season, so we were getting 20 inches of rain a day.
Where was this?
It was in Korea. It was south of Seoul.
Okay.
And out in the middle of nowhere. And 20 inches of rain a day, everything was flooded. It was there was an Army major, and her name, I will swear, her name was Major Minor. She said she was never looking forward to being a major. Captain was fine. She couldn't wait to get lieutenant colonel, but being Major Minor, but she brought all of the senior enlisted and junior officers from the brigade up because she wanted to know why we had a better drainage system to get the water out of our area than any of the Army did. She goes, why can the Air Force dig a better drainage system than we can? But there was a typhoon that was going to come through, and all of the Army went to hardened billets, and the rest of the Air Force did, and they left Dusty and I out there because we were trained to be out in the so we stayed out in a typhoon, and we verified it was a typhoon. And him and I in a typhoon was it was like a bad comedy movie. It really was. It was a cross between an episode of MASH and the Three Stooges. I mean, I would have loved to have seen somebody watching us. I mean, you're talking 120 mile an hour winds, and us two idiots out there in the mud and everything else, and we finally broke into one of the Humvees that the medics used because it was hardened in the back, and hid out in there because we were tired of things flying around. But I mean, the whole, I'll never forget it because it just had to look so. It was so surreal. It was like, why are these two idiots out there? We were wearing shorts, our rain boots, and ponchos and helmets. I mean, and that was it. Because we had to have our helmets on because there was stuff flying around. But it was just so funny. Him and I still joke about it.
What does he do?
He lives out in North Carolina. He just retired from Bragg.
Okay. I would like to do a word association. I'll give you some words and you give me your reaction.
Okay.
The first one is basic training.
Educational.
Weather school.
Entertaining.
Air Force Special Operations.
Challenging.
16th Special Operations Wing.
Proud.
Korea.
Unique.
Bosnia.
Sad.
Who was the head of Bosnia? Who was the leader there?
Milosevic.
When you hear his name, what do you think of?
Evil.
Saddam Hussein.
Evil.
George H.W. Bush.
Moron.
Bill Clinton.
I don't really have a reaction. I mean, I don't really have a good or bad reaction on him. Just
George W. Bush.
smart guy.
How do you want to be remembered?
Somebody who helped others. Others before myself.
Anything else you want to talk about?
Let's see. What else do I have?
Anything else happen in the Air Force that?
I think others that aren't. Well, let's see. What other things was I involved in that aren't classified? Let's see. The whole Black Hawk Down thing. We were there.
In Somalia?
Yep.
What did you do in Somalia?
We were mostly supporting the flights into Mogadishu. We were down in Mombasa, Kenya.
Okay.
There wasn't a whole lot to go into Somalia. It was a mess.
Did you go into Somalia?
We did a couple times.
What did you do in Somalia?
We were usually going after warlords.
Did you get them?
Usually it was bad intel. We did get one. We got grounded when the Blackhawks got shot down. By higher ups, they grounded us. They thought that we were. They thought that we would probably cause a mess with parts of the city. They thought that we would probably drop grenades randomly. They were probably right.
Yeah. Why were we in Somalia?
Originally, I think we were trying to secure the UN aid that was going out, but then it got into some big quagmire mess. Originally we were flying out of Djibouti and up that way because it was a better port, but we got kicked out of Djibouti. They didn't think we were there for humanitarian reasons. We showed up with gunships. So we went down to Kenya instead. But yeah, no, we knew all the Rangers and all that stuff that were in that. That was a bad day. But yeah, we couldn't believe when they grounded us. Because we were the closest people. We would have, I don't know if we would have made a difference or not, but we didn't make a difference being grounded.
Yeah.
We didn't have an option then. Mm-hmm. We're like, you got to be serious.
Who was head of Somalia?
There wasn't.
There wasn't.
There was a bunch of warlords. And yeah, there was no one over there that was in charge. It was such a, we thought they should just start it over, but that wasn't ever an option.
Yeah.
Haiti. We did Haiti. Most people don't even remember that we went into Haiti.
94.
Yep. Jean Bertrand, Aristide. when we told them we're going to invade, and they said, no, you're not. And they finally believed us when they launched all the
Yes.
planes. We were on the ground when they launched all the planes because we were there to secure for all the 82nd Airborne when they were going to drop them.
Were you in Haiti?
Yeah.
Where?
We were actually inland at it was an old airfield that the 82nd was going to drop onto, and we were there to provide their guidance.
Okay.
When they called off the airdrop to give them time, which was perfectly fine, except for those of us that were still in the country, they didn't have a plan to get us out. We called, and they said, well, you're going to have to sit tight. We went, no, that's not an option. So we called the JSOC, Joint Special Operations Command, and said we need to ride out, and because we don't want to be here in the morning when the Haitians decide to start looking around or whatever. And from what we heard, don't know how much was that they called the Pentagon, called up whoever at the Pentagon and said, you've got an aircraft carrier out there with helicopters, you go pick them up, or in the morning we're going to fly a whole group from Guantanamo Bay across downtown Port-au-Prince so CNN can take pictures of it, of all these aircraft, and we're going to pick them up in daylight. Real quickly, we had a radio call, that can you guys get here within 2 hours? And to this point, we're like, yeah. They said, okay, we'll send a helicopter. We're like, thought you might.
How many were on the ground?
With our group, we had 30.
Were you still with the 16th Special Operations
Yeah.
Wing? Okay.
Yeah, we had combat controllers, TACP,
Yeah.
pararescue.
Now, was Baby Doc the one that refused to leave when Aristide was?
Yeah, he took back over.
Yeah.
And we didn't really like Aristide, but he'd been elected.
Oh, yeah, I know.
You know, you put in he was democratically elected. Well, you can't.
He wasn't much better.
No, he wasn't. But got to put it democratically.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like we were all like, but he's no better. But they voted for him.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean, we did a lot of stuff. I mean, we did a lot of. There was stuff we did that was really good. I mean, we helped we had an orphanage in Haiti because we did a lot of training down there for the jungle stuff, and Haiti was a friendly country, so they let us do it down there. But there was an orphanage that was close by to where we trained, and whenever we were down there, we'd always fix up stuff down there for them. I mean, no better way to make friends than with the locals. I mean, the nuns and the kids and stuff, they were all great to tell us if there was anything going on. We'd fix windows, and stuff always gets lost. I mean, mosquito netting and stuff like that, we'd cover their windows. We did all sorts of things like that. One year at Christmas, we got permission and took a C-130 full of like refurbished bikes and things like that down there for them for Christmas. That was probably one of those missions that, yeah, it was Christmas Day, but they had more volunteers than anything else because these kids had nothing.
Yes.
But it was just, if you wanted a feel-good one,
Yep.
that was worth it.
Where'd you get the bikes?
They were actually donated from Pensacola and Fort Walton Beach area through most of the places like Salvation Army and stuff would just donate them, and then we had like our civil engineers and stuff that would donate their time to refurbish them. So they were like everything, didn't cost anything for anybody, and all it cost the government was the C-130, and it was worth every penny of it. And yeah, the kids, we took balls and stuff too, and most of those, all of us bought, and these kids were ecstatic. I mean, they'd hear the plane coming in, everybody'd run out to where the airfield was, and they saw it open up that time. They just thought it was you know, us coming down as usual, open it up, and here's all these bikes and everything else going for them.
What was the name of the orphanage?
I don't remember. It was a Catholic
Okay.
saint something.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were seeing the kids being happy made
Oh, yeah.
all of it worth it.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, we can do this. And especially when you're doing the jungle training and all that stuff, and you've spent 10 days or 2 weeks or whatever out in the jungle, you come back and these kids are, you know, wanting to climb all over you and give you hugs. They don't care that you're covered in mud and sweat and everything else. They don't care. You're like, okay, I can do this.
Did you get downtown Port-au-Prince?
No,
Yeah.
never got downtown.
Yes. Okay. Anything else about Haiti?
Just that outdoor stuff and out in the back 40 and yeah, that helicopter flight, that was funny. I mean, we always laughed about that story because it was like, because we knew that they were authorized the flights to come over. And yeah, we'll embarrass the Navy here. We will fly over downtown. It's like CNN will have these pictures tomorrow.
Anything else?
That's all I could think of.
Well, sir, this is an excellent interview.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for your service and thank you for the interview.
Thank you.
And again, this is June 6, 2019. My name is Joe Todd. This has been an interview with Shawn McFarlin in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. Thank you.
Thank you.